How's it going? I was just out watching the sunset with the coyotes and howling in the background, and the full moon, well, almost full moon, coming up above Lizard Head Rock. And I want to talk about the new Earth because something really wonderful is happening to me. And I've been here before, and it only happened when I was able to let go of all the coping mechanisms that were created from the trauma of the past. And now that I have released all those coping mechanisms, there's no reason for my body to be in any sort of stress. And my heart is just like, right now. And it's really, really, really awesome. And I wanted to share my truth with this and saying that the way that people are going, there's that direction of running with the technology and the greed and all that stuff, but there's a version of Earth that exists that the natives knew about and that the ancient Egyptians knew about, and that Lemuria knew about, and Atlantis knew about. And it's a magical, heart-centered place that was not caught up in being sick in the body and sick in the mind. It wasn't a reality that was caught up with fear of rejection and people getting mad if you don't like somebody's posts. There's a world out there that exists that is the exact opposite direction that the momentum of humanity is going. And it comes from avoidance of the inability to feel and prioritize your health and yourself over anybody else, because we're taught that that's selfish. But there's a magical world that exists, and it exists when you're in your heart. And you can only be in your heart when you know you are loved, when you know that you are immeasurably loved and that you are a treasure, and that this beautiful earth called for you to be here. And we've been getting caught up with all this stuff, and I've been moving through this process of letting go of these old coping mechanisms that were so deeply ingrained that I was holding on to. And that spider bite really caused me to basically heighten state of alert, like warning, bring all of your energy back into your body. And it caused me to detox basically everything. My body still itches. And it totally fired off a bout of shingles because my nervous system was so frazzled from that venom. But what's been so wonderful and amazing is that, I no longer, there were some coping mechanisms that I was still doing where it was putting some toxins in my body still, and I've stopped everything. So, but what's really cool is that with the clarity with that is this whole, it's like, I feel like my energy just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Where before it was like I felt like I was hiding behind these curtains like the Wizard of Oz and trying to, I don't know what the hell I was trying to do. But I hated it. I really didn't like it. And so I went out and, I listened to one of my favorite groups called Cone, very kind of psychedelic, trippy, beautiful stuff. And, I just drove out and listened to my music, and then was watching the sunset, and then the coyotes started howling and the moon came up, and it was so awesome. But there's so much that your body, your correlated experience with spiritual awakening is directly associated with how you treat your body. And, I met this girl in the creek, and she had an eating disorder. And she was with her mom, and she was a young little thing, and she's over concerned about her health to the point where, that's off balance, and your body is always striving for balance. So if we're putting all these things into our awareness that are causing us to be off balance, that's an issue. Now, the reason why I work with belief systems is because if there's a belief that's out of balance, that makes your body off balance. So in one of the biggest issues, and this is, some people will say, well, that's a primal thing, but is it necessary to have any sort of fear of rejection? Because I honestly think fear of rejection is what creates the empathic soul. Is where there's an idea, a belief that you can be rejected on some level. And that rejection is so dreadfully awful. Beyond like getting ghosted but that rejection of moving perhaps from the heart into the mind as we descended, and now we're moving back into this, how do we move back into the heart? And so if we're operating these programs that are keeping your mind active or activated, the heart's not going to ever be your true home. And the heart can be your true home. And that's what's really cool, is that in the heart lies your truth. But how many people are out there analyzing everything? Oh, I'm behind on bills, or I'm not, I gotta impress people, I gotta buy a bigger house, and that's all up here. Who are we trying to impress? In the mind makes things 10 times more difficult than they should be. Than in the heart, where there's love. But I don't think this world has seen love in a long time. And even people, spiritual teachers, healers are out there trying to do their thing and show people what love is. And I'm like, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You're this way when you're this way, and when you're around people, and then when you're not around people, you're totally different. I don't understand it. And the path of authenticity is within your heart, So this whole new earth talk, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, new earth, brother and sister, yay, awesome, cool, oneness, unity, awesomeness. But meanwhile, everybody's nervous systems are totally frazzled because everybody's on a heightened state of alert trying to analyze other people's energies. That doesn't make sense. That's because we need to talk about energetic boundaries. And what is an energetic boundary? Here's the thing, is that everybody's got a garden, right? Everybody's got a little piece of land to garden. And somewhere down the line, it became everybody's business to water everybody else's plants and everybody else's garden but your own. Because you noticed that somebody needed more water. You projected that your lack of water was needed, so like you need to project the lack of water into your neighbor's yard, so you go water your neighbor's yard rather than watering your own. And so in this whole thing of people feeling psychically what is beyond your responsibility creates this episode called Too Many Frying Pans, Not Enough Burners. And when there's a lack of resources or a perception of lack of resources in the body, the nervous system freaks out. And then we call that anxiety. Anxiety! America's most favorite scapegoat that nobody wants to actually fix. They just want to take a pill for it. Why don't you want to fix that? If it can be fixed, why allow your body to operate off of states of stress to lower your immune system when you're projecting that everybody else needs help but you, to where your own personal needs are not being met? You're avoiding what you need to do for your life, and you're completely being controlled by everybody else's needs because that makes you feel worthy. I'm only talking about this because I was just there too. And I realized I wasn't living my life. What's going on? What was causing me to do this? What was causing me to do this was fear of rejection. Was, I've been good, I've been strong this whole time, I can help other people too. When it was also a coping mechanism. But now, what if we all had gardens, plots of land, and you had a fence, and you couldn't even see other people's gardens? Let's talk about what a boundary is energetically. And is it possible to create a boundary energetically? And now, an energetic boundary is very hard to establish for somebody who has gone through a trauma wound of emotional neglect. Okay? And I'm going to talk about the importance of emotional neglect and why it's so important to... this is an important one, because society is moving into this direction of we're raising our children on iPads, on computers. I didn't get my first computer till I was 26. Like 20 years ago, But all these kids are being raised on computers. Children being raised on phones. Young kids having phones with access to YouTube and Xtube and Pornhub and all the rub-a-dub-dub and all the what? Good God. And if there's this aspect of emotional neglect that is raised in a family or is handed down epigenetically through your parents, then that wound of emotional neglect is going to go into, well, I'm not worthy unless I'm liked or followed on social media, or so I'm going to help out everybody else that I can, and I'm not going to know what a boundary is because I have a belief deep down that I'm not lovable. I'm not lovable enough. And so there will be this continuation to fill this void, and everybody's always going to be in a state of lack. And you know what happens when you're in a state of lack? You are controlled. You are manipulated. You are controlled by everything else that is not your true inner voice. Your true inner voice isn't the voice that says, "You're such an asshole. Why'd you fuck up? How come you're not loved?" That's not your voice. That's usually your mom or dad or somebody else in society. So when we create these boundaries, the importance of this, and bringing back this, the importance of prioritizing yourself first, but also that you are tremendously loved. You are wanted here. Your soul was wanted here. And we have a choice. We can experience this kind of reality where you're in front of a computer 24/7, and you'll never get to know what it sounds like to hear the coyotes howling at the moon during a sunset. Or you'll never know what it's like to have dragonflies land on you when you're swimming in a creek. Or you'll never know what kind of connection that the natives had to this beautiful earth, what connection that Lemuria and Atlantis and all the ancient Egyptian stuff, you'll never know, because you're too busy programming the next computer, trying to figure out how to do a better job, being sensitive, overly empathic, and having no boundaries, when nothing is further from the truth that you are more than loved, immeasurably so, to the point where you are lovable. You are lovable. I realized that I didn't have parents that said, I really appreciate you being in my life. But I know that they didn't hear that either. There's a lot of children, younger kids, who are bright as can be. Some of them already know that they're very loved. But if they're being pushed aside, think about how we're raising today's children. I know that not everybody's raised like that. And I applaud the parents and people who really take into consideration the importance of, hey, it might be inconvenient to make sure that we have good talks with our children. But if we don't let them know that it's okay to feel their own feelings, and it's okay to express their emotions, and that it's okay to be heard, I want to listen to you and pay attention to your needs, the wound of emotional neglect is going to really snowball into something kind of not what people are really wanting. And I know that there's this aspect of New Age idealism and thought that people say that, oh, well, we're not supposed to help in, if we're high vibration, so those people are dealing with that. Let's get rid of that, okay? Because that's New Age bullshit. Okay? But know that as we rise up, or as we move into our heart, and society thinks that rising up is becoming more successful, becoming more wealthy, having more things. That's rising up. Look at me, I have more followers. I'm ascending. And nothing is further from the truth. The ascension of the heart is about moving, releasing trauma wounds and coping mechanisms and behaviors that were created during a traumatic time in the mind, and allowing your heart to become your home again. It's when your heart becomes your truth and becomes your place where you breathe into. And the mind is kind of like this ball, this head that's just hanging out on top of the heart that witnesses things. But the more that you push your energy outside of yourself to try to control or manipulate anything else, the more that you try to meddle in other people's lives or gossip or anything, it's going to pull you right out of your flow. But this life, yes, it's important to have money and make sure that your needs are met. And wealth and prosperity, awesome, cool. What if having all those things was to ensure your mind that it can be at peace so you can move into your heart? Most people think that when you have all those things, you have all these things, oh my God, okay, what's next? What next goal do I have to do? Cool. And what I was realizing in my own life is that the more I tried to create from not being in my heart, it was like the universe was slapping me down. And then I was judging myself for not being worthy or good enough, or something was wrong, what was broken. And what I realized that my intuition was saying, come back here. Come back here. Creating from here is not where you're supposed to create from, Danny. Create from here. And so what's really fascinating is that, everything's kind of becoming more sparkly right now. Like I said, my body's detox. I've been taking activated charcoal to detox my body from the venom of the spider bite. And I've been taking a lot of grapefruit seed extract and whatnot, and just detoxing. And since I have let go of all these things, it's like I'm coming back into my body because my mind is not holding my body hostage. It's like my energy wants to be here now to speak from my truth, from my perspective, not trying to tell people what they need to hear, but telling people, what I want to share from my heart. It's a little different. So when you think of the Hopi, when you think of, the Sinagua, the Indians, the natives who lived in the Southwest here, I'm in Sedona. And when you think about the connection that they had to the land, and the way that, the shaman of the Amazon and, all the natives who were very earth-based. And you think about why, and they talk about different dimensions and different aspects and spirits, because they were in their heart. They were not trying to impress other people and taking selfies to try to look better than the Klansmen down the creek, They weren't trying to do stuff. They weren't needing to go get Botox done to impress anybody because of a fear of rejection. They were centered in their hearts and connected to the energies and the frequencies of the earth. And here's the thing, is that when you're connected to the earth frequencies, your first chakra starts humming a new song saying, you belong here. Exactly as you are, you belong here. There's a harmonious flow when that first chakra is connected to this earth. But when we're scrolling through all the different media outlets and all that, it puts us into our mind and it takes us out of our heart. And so it actually causes a blockage, to be connected with the earth. So, there's different things we can do, but how much time do you give yourself to go connect with the earth? I'm talking about, like even just closing your eyes and imagining the crystal caves and underwater caverns down below, and what could actually truly be beneath you? And are you willing to continue to listen to what other people's beliefs tell you to believe is beneath you? Or could there actually be another magical world that exists deeper and deeper down? And as you connect with that, you start anchoring that light up here. And as you start anchoring that light up here, you're like a beacon and an antenna a wonderful magical wizard who's just keeping the peace, strutting his stuff without needing to be afraid of anything. Because you only know that there's the deepest belonging and connection with this earth. And this whole idea, I'm just going to bring up something that's probably going to cause people to, argue or whatever, that's fine. But since the media, the narrative, the social narrative of global warming and all this stuff, there's this global fear narrative because not many people know what it's like to move into the heart and to see the earth from a different level. But if you're focusing on the fear narrative through the narrative of fear, projecting your fear into everything that you experience in this life, yes, you're going to experience a version of earth that is reflecting of that. Going back to that garden thing I was telling you about. Now, I pay attention to a lot of heliophysics and with my own intuitions, and what I'm told is that the entire galaxy is shifting right now. It's not just Earth. It's not just Earth. It's the entire galaxy. It's a galactic movement of awesome. Where everything's going on this ride. Even your dogs, even your cats. Now, here's the thing is that it comes down to if you're holding on to all the stuff that's causing you to be in the mind. Like I was holding on for dear life to these coping mechanisms. And it was dragging me. It was making me feel like I was going crazy. You've probably noticed some of the videos. You're like, oh, he doesn't look so good. He's processing. Oh, he's negative. Because he's talking about guilt. But, the allowance of moving these things through and, finding the freedom to be at peace and ease and knowing that the earth is more alive than it's ever been. Now, what would it be like to update our belief systems and realizing that there's more fresh water, there's more drinkable water on this planet, the abundance of food that is here, even though it may not seem like it because the stores, the abundance of wellness, medicines that is here on this planet is amazing. The abundance of communication that we have, the resources that we have are so abundant, but yet people are still so stuck in a state of lack mentality. And this comes from this disconnection from the earth. Your first chakra, not being able to ground in because everybody's on a heightened state of alert, all the time listening to different media narratives. Whether it's coming from social media, oh my God, TikTok, it's like you can't avoid it, So the best way to deal with it is making peace with it. And making peace and knowing that, you know what, it doesn't really seem right to me that this world is ending. Like, that doesn't sound right to me. This doesn't feel right. My intuition says bullshit, My intuition saying there's something so much more grand than what most people even can fathom because the mind is limiting. But guess what's not? The heart. The heart is unlimited. It's unlimited. Do you know how much love is in this thing? Because when you actually move here from here, you start tapping into all of the love of everything. That's what they mean by unity consciousness. That's what they mean by we're all one. We are all one doesn't mean go and take care of all your neighbors' yards, even though they didn't ask you to. That's called lack of boundaries. So there's this thing that we need to get really, 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 really clear in our spiritual little world here, is that your lack of boundaries comes from a fear of rejection, which probably came from a wound called emotional neglect, which stems into people pleasing and going into I'm feeling validated by helping people without them asking me to help them. Versus I'm going to be responsible and accountable for myself, my actions, my behaviors, my thoughts, my emotions. I'm going to feel myself, and I'm going to be here as an anchor on this earth, anchored in, and I'm going to think the way that I want to think, the way that works for me, because when truth comes in, and I align to truth, the truth feels good. And I can align to that truth. And as I align to that truth, I don't need to pay attention to all this BS bullshit out here. And I know that the majority of this BS bullshit out here is talking about stuff that is not in alignment with the heart. It's all hearsay, mumbo jumbo, and people trying to outdo one another, and it's coming from a place of ego. So let's move into the heart. Let's be accountable for our own selves. And let's find the joy and know that there's a place that you can get to when you let go of any traumas of the past, when you let go of those coping mechanisms and those behaviors, that you just will start to moving right here, baby. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's very peaceful here because like my awareness is right here, not here. Now, 2 weeks ago, last week, that was a whole nother story. I don't think I've analyzed so much in my life. And I was like, what's going on? This is not okay. And like a mad scientist, I'm like, what program is running right now and how do I... I'm like, this is what I did. But it all came down to remembering that I am lovable. And social media and a lot of that stuff created a belief that I was not lovable. So I must have not been lovable if I'm only getting 3 likes. Or, wow, I'm not as lovable as I used to be because I used to get thousands of people that watch my videos. They figured out that algorithm. They switched it to make us all depressed and made us even more needing social media. Because if you have a lack of love and you're not enough and you are afraid to be alone, and well, we know the right place for you to just scroll and give your time and your life away. Give you that empowerment to feel like you're doing good by liking that thing. Or, I'm not trying to diss on anybody because the social media thing's been a big issue for me. And I've been pretty expressive about that. But there's a lot of magic outside of the computer realm, is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of magic that exists when you go and watch a sunset and you end up meeting this wonderful woman who's giggly and fun and amazing. This was last night. And I made a new friend and like somebody who's just awesome. And, she does weddings out here and, she's been out here for 20 years and she used to be a lawyer and she's fantastic. And I was like, that's so cool that this just happened. But if we're in our minds, that synchronicity, that serendipity, that stuff doesn't happen. If you're trying to figure out what's wrong with you, perhaps what you're doing is not feeling your own emotions. Most of the people think that because of the fear of rejection, Let's amplify our psychic abilities and try to intuit what other people are thinking about to keep us safe. Because I don't want to be rejected. And what if your intuition is actually just the loving dimensions within your body, and that the dimensions within your body are so full of love that it's such an illusion that you'd ever need to seek love, to seek or look for love anywhere outside of yourself. Because all those things that were causing you to judge yourself, what if that was just other people's stuff? Saying, come back, all the love that you need is right here, bro. Girl. It's a magical world in these bodies. And these bodies, as we go through, the activation of the DNA templates and all this stuff, it's very, very interesting. I can see through walls, and I can basically see everywhere. It's very interesting. So, the times I spend inside are becoming less and less, and my wanting to go be out in nature more and more is definitely the thing. What excites me is not about trying to be more than I have ever been. What excites me is what more magic exists, because this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. It's way better than a video game or a movie, because it's real. So, you are lovable, even if nobody likes you. That's next level. You're so lovable, even if nobody likes you. And because there's leagues and leagues and leagues of angels, star councils, ascended realms, who love you more than you could ever know. But you can't know that in the mind. But you'll be able to feel it in here. So, thank you, Leanne. So, anyways, I'm Danny Picard. I just wanted to hop on because I've been feeling really good today and very peaceful. Had a good little cry earlier, and that was nice. And it's my birthday tomorrow. So, turning 44. It's a good number. 44. And I have no plans, but I think I do get to go back to work. So, thank you, David. Absolutely. I hope you guys are doing great. One of the things, just keep in, how do we love? How do we love ourselves more? Okay. Thank you, Tara. Well, much love to you guys. Theepichuman.com is my website, or you can check out youtube.com /Danny Picard Inspires, where I have a bunch of different videos up. And it's pretty cool. Lots of different stuff there. So much love to you all. Bye.